Hey there, Wondering Watchers. Welcome to this tarot card reading made for watchers of true crime and intended for a mature audience. Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger is awaiting his preliminary hearing scheduled for June 26. Kohberger's arrest for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students was based on the contents of an affidavit that contained statements from the surviving roommates, Bethany Funke and Dylan Mortensen, who were both in the home at the time of the murders. Now, I previously did a tarot reading on what Dylan saw, but I am actually unaware of Bethany's account of what happened. So this reading explores what she might reveal, since she agreed to speak to Kohberger's defense attorneys to avoid having to testify at the preliminary hearing. So I am going to insert a disclaimer here. I am a licensed attorney, although I haven't practiced in the past couple of years, and instead I've been doing tarot readings for fine folks like yourself. I did work as a civil defense attorney for 10 years, but I didn't practice criminal law, and I don't know how Idaho's judicial system or procedures operate. I haven't read through the legal documents for this case, and I've mainly skimmed online articles with third-person accounts. So what I'm going to say in this reading is going to be based on whatever tarot or oracle cards show up. So now let's get back to the reading to see what Bethany might know about the events that took place in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. So Bethany and Dylan told the police that the roommates were asleep or in the rooms by 4 a.m. And based on downloads from Bethany and Dylan's phones, the police believe the murders occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. If you saw the video that I did about Dylan, then you know that her room is on the 2nd floor, and she heard crying coming from Xana's room on that same floor. And Dylan saw a man wearing all black with a mask covering his nose and mouth walk past her and leave the house from the 2nd floor through the sliding glass doors. Bethany's room is actually on the 1st floor of the home, and as far as I'm aware, there haven't been any reports that the killer was on that floor. But if you are aware of something to the contrary, please let me know. So Kohberger's attorneys believe Bethany has information that can help his defense. Perhaps it could be a minor contradiction in the statements that Dylan and Bethany made to the police that kind of puts their credibility into doubt. Or it could be something huge, like Kohberger hooking up with Bethany until 9 a.m. that morning. But first, I'm going to use the revolving time oracle cards to ask some yes or no, or maybe, or neutral questions. Okay, so let's find out if there was a relationship between Bethany and Kohberger before the murders, or at least if they were aware of each other. It says growth, card 3, yes. So time is dependent on another factor. So they were aware of each other. That card is the equivalent of the Empress card. So let's see if Bryan Kohberger stalked Bethany before the murders. It has romance, card 23, it's equivalent to the Knight of Cups, and it says yes, time for love. So I guess, that might represent what Bryan Kohberger does for love. He stalks people. Like I said, these are just the cards. Okay, so let's see if Bethany was asleep when the murders took place. We have yes. Card 2, it says intuition at the top. Time is hidden. This is the equivalent of the High Priestess. So this has to do with like subconscious things that are knowns, things that are hidden. So considering the question I just asked was she asleep? And High Priestess has to do with dreams and so forth. And it says, yes, it could be like confirmation that she was sleeping, she was dreaming, and maybe whatever she knows, it's just like from the subconscious, like things she picked up when she was sleeping. So let's see, does Bethany have information that could help Kohberger's defense? Here we have this card that says no, says solitude, card 9. This is the equivalent to the Hermit card. So it's seems like Kohberger is alone in thinking Bethany has information that could help his defense. But let's see what the tarot cards have to say. So since Kohberger and Bethany were aware of each other before the murders and that he seems to have stalked her, let's see how Bryan Kohberger sees Bethany. 8 of Wands. So probably sees her as kind of really going somewhere with her life, energetic, someone who is kind of maybe constantly keeping up with what's going on around her. And the Lover's card, interesting. So maybe sees her as someone who's like either in this deck, you can see this mermaid is looking into the mirror and sees a different side of herself. So it could be perhaps he saw her as someone who is constantly on the go and constantly like drawing people's attention, or maybe concerned with how she's viewed. I'm going to pull one more card. Ace of Wands. So it's almost like he's like sees her as, I'm kind of now thinking the Lover's card is more like the traditional Lover's card, like with this romance, time for love. Maybe someone out of his reach and energetic, someone who he was attracted to. Someone who is vivacious, full of life. So let's see how Bethany sees Kohberger. We have here the Hierophant. Could be that she has read the news about him being a student or like a PhD student who had who was like an assistant, teacher's assistants, or who also like was in the role of an academic, someone who kind of blended into the institutions. And 7 of Wands, someone who blended in but also was like an outsider, maybe trying to pretend they belong but didn't. And pull one more card. King of Swords. So someone who is like crafty, who's been planning this, someone who has studied up on what they needed to know, and kind of trying to prepare himself to be in like situations where he is like an outsider intruding. And interestingly, the King of Swords here has come up for the Idaho killer on other readings of mine. So maybe sees him as someone who is conniving, brutal. So let's take a look at what Bethany might know that directly implicates Kohberger in the murder. We have here the 5 of Wands. So it's kind of a sense of conflict, chaos, instability, and like different energies going on here, but focusing on one thing. We have the High Priestess, which is the equivalent of this intuition card. And it does say she was sleeping at the time. So it could be that basically like what she knows could be like maybe when she was trying to sleep or dreaming, maybe she kind of heard something in the background like chaos, conflict taking place, but she was on the first floor. So I'm going to take one more card here. We have here the 8 of Swords. So it kind of seems like the things that she might know that can help implicate him is something that maybe she doesn't even know herself. maybe because she thinks she was asleep and like her mind is kind of shutting things out. She doesn't really want to know, and it could be almost like inner conflict. Be interesting if there's like any use of like hypnosis to try to help her remember, but I mean, if I was her, I wouldn't necessarily want to. But okay, so let's see in terms of, basically Kohberger's attorney want to kind of discredit the evidence against him. It's unlikely he'll testify. Most defendants, those accused of murder, don't want to testify because they could say things that implicate themselves. So let's see how his defense team will try to portray him or discredit the evidence against him. So let's see how they will try to portray who Bryan Kohberger is. We have here the 10 of Wands, someone who's like hardworking, had aspirations to really study, go far in his education, make something of himself. We have here the 5 of Pentacles, someone who has perhaps found themselves in a situation where they were like the outsider. Maybe that made it easy for them to kind of pin something on him. And we have the Page of Wands, someone who is like curious, wanted to know about the world, want to know how, what motivated people, what motivated them in times of when they didn't have a lot going for them. So let's see why, in terms of why the police chose him as a suspect, how he will try to portray that. We have here Page of Pentacles. So could be because he studied criminal law, studied criminals and how they operated. So here with this Page of Pentacles, someone who is excited about what they can create in the material world, what they're learning, how they're contributing. And we have the World card here. So it's almost a sense of completion, finality, the police chose him because he was someone who was interested in the subject and they needed to kind of get success and close off this investigation. So let's see about how he'll explain the GPS evidence that places him near the home in the months before the murder, or around the roommates that were murdered as well. We have the 4 of Wands. He could say, that was like a party house. People were always welcome there. They were all celebrating something. Oh, we have the Devil card here. So it could be, that he kind of explains it away as maybe he was attracted to them. These were attractive girls that lived there, and they were known to party and have fun. We have the Tower there. Okay, so basically it could be oh, well, I thought I was somewhere else, got drunk, went there, and I didn't know exactly what I was doing. Or, not sure where I was or how I ended up in that spot, but there's these attractive girls that I was drawn to. So let's see in terms of the DNA evidence, with the DNA being found on the knife sheath that was at the home, at the crime scene. What will they kind of question about that? We have 2 of Swords. So here you could see these people are kind of pushing against each other and dueling, and kind of rubbing up against each other. It could be well, maybe someone rubbed up against me or rubbed their sheath against me without me really paying attention to it, noticing. And then we have here the Eight of Cups. And this is kind of like walking away from something. And you can see this person on the beach sleeping, has no idea that this person is kind of walking away. So here it could be like, someone rubbed up against me and had no clue like that his DNA was left on something, but wasn't necessarily something that he had possession of or was aware of or knew anything about. I'm going to pull one more card here. Like ultimately, well, maybe not one more card, but ultimately just to see like overall what will be Kohberger's like angle for the defense. Five of Cups, kind of being torn away from everything that he knows, perhaps give his own little sob story, how he has been like hurt in the process or like emotionally torn from his own family. And we have the Ten of Swords. So basically how, perhaps someone betrayed him and that he has hit rock bottom as a result of this. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the middle here. Why not? And let's see what else. We have here the Empress. So to me, this is kind of like someone else kind of created this plan. Someone else birthed this plan, and he is like the sad pawn being used in this or being blamed in it. And yeah, so, and this is what I have for now. We'll see you next time. Until then, stay on your toes and take care.